I stared at the salary spreadsheet on my screen, my coffee going cold in my hand. The numbers blurred together for a second before snapping back into focus, each one a tiny knife cutting into everything I thought I knew about my worth here. Sarah Martinez, hired 6 months ago, same job title as mine, $72,000 base salary. I made $50,000, $22,000 less than someone I'd spent the last half year training. My manager, David, had sent me the link this morning. Here's your performance review feedback, his email said. Except it wasn't feedback. It was a master folder for the entire department. Every salary, every bonus structure, every market adjustment they claimed didn't exist when I asked for my raise 2 years ago. I clicked through another file. Marcus Chen, hired 3 months ago, $68,000. James Rodriguez, hired last January, $71,000. All of them newer, all of them making more than me. Some of them sitting 10 feet away, asking me questions about basic processes because they still didn't know how to run a simple report. My hands trembled as I scrolled. There it was. My name. Emily Watson. $50,000. Status, exceeding expectations. Note, essential to operations, strong mentor to new hires, consistently delivers above role requirements. Essential. Exceeding. Worth $22,000 less than the person whose hand I held through her first client presentation last month. I grabbed my phone and took screenshots. Every page, every number, every single piece of evidence that the last 2 years of my loyalty meant absolutely nothing. Hey, Emily, got a sec? I nearly dropped my phone. Sarah stood at my cubicle entrance, holding a folder, that bright, eager smile on her face that used to make me feel good about helping her. Now it just made my stomach turn. Sure, I said, minimizing the window. What's up? I'm struggling with the Henderson account reconciliation. Can you walk me through it again? Again. The 3rd time this month. For someone making $22,000 more than me? Actually, I'm swamped right now. Check the procedure guide I wrote. It's in the shared drive. Her smile faltered. Oh, okay. I just thought since you're so good at explaining things. The guide explains it too. I turned back to my screen, my heart pounding. That's what it's there for. She lingered for another second, then walked away. I heard her heels click across the floor, fading toward Marcus's desk. He'd probably help her. He seemed to love the attention from the new hires. Maybe it made him feel better about making $68,000 to do the same job I'd been doing for 4 years. My email dinged. David again. Did you get a chance to review the feedback? Let's schedule a quick call to discuss. I stared at his message. Let's discuss. Like we were going to have some productive conversation about my growth opportunities and professional development. Like he hadn't accidentally handed me the evidence of exactly how little they valued me. 2 years ago, I'd walked into his office with a market analysis. I'd prepared a whole presentation about my contributions, my expanded responsibilities, my consistent performance ratings. He'd nodded along, told me I was doing great work, said he'd see what he could do. 3 weeks later, he called me back in. Budget constraints, he'd said, looking almost apologetic. The company's being really tight with increases right now. But keep up the great work. We'll revisit this next cycle. Next cycle never came. And apparently, the budget constraints magically disappeared every time they needed to hire someone new. I opened a reply to David's email and typed, Actually, I think the document you sent was more informative than expected. We should definitely discuss. My finger hovered over the send button. Then I deleted it. Changed it to, sure, when works for you. Play it cool. Don't let him know. Not yet. His response came back in 30 seconds. How about 2 p.m.? Conference room B. 4 hours. I had 4 hours to decide what to do with this information. I pulled up LinkedIn on my phone, logged in, changed my status to open to work for recruiters only. Then I opened my resume file and started updating it. Every achievement from the last 2 years, every project I'd led, every new hire I'd trained who now made more than me. Emily, lunch. I looked up. Rebecca from accounting stood there with her purse already on her shoulder. We usually grabbed sandwiches together on Thursdays. Can't today, swamped. The lie came easily now. Everything okay? You seem stressed. Just busy. You know how it is. She frowned but didn't push. Okay, text me later. I nodded, already turning back to my screen. I couldn't sit in the break room and make small talk about weekend plans right now. Not when I knew what I knew. Not when every person walking past my desk might be making thousands more than me for doing less work. The morning dragged by in a fog of spreadsheet numbers and rising anger. I organized the screenshots into a folder on my phone, calculated the difference in total compensation. $22,000 from Sarah, $18,000 from Marcus, $21,000 from James. And those were just the people doing my exact job. I scrolled further down the spreadsheet. Jennifer in operations, my level, hired 8 months ago, $65,000. Tom in client services, same level, hired last year, $69,000. The pattern was unmistakable. Everyone hired in the last 2 years started higher. Market adjustments, apparently. Meanwhile, I'd gotten a 2% cost of living increase each year that didn't even keep up with inflation. At 1:55, I grabbed my laptop and headed to conference room B. David was already there, sitting at the head of the table with his own laptop open, looking relaxed, confident, like he had no idea he'd just handed me the key to burning his entire operation down. Emily, hey, thanks for making time. I sat down across from him, setting my laptop carefully on the table. My hands were steady now, cold and steady. So I wanted to touch base about your review. He clicked through a few screens. You've had another strong year, really strong. The feedback from the team has been consistently positive, and your project completion rate is the highest in the department. Thanks. We're marking you as exceeding expectations again, which is great. It reflects the work you've been putting in. I nodded slowly. And what does that translate to, in concrete terms? He shifted slightly. Well, we're doing a 3% increase across the board for exceeding ratings, so that would bring you to $51,500 annually. 3%, $1,500, split across 26 paychecks, about $57 per check before taxes. That's it? I know it's not huge, but given the current economic climate, we're trying to be conservative with our compensation adjustments. The words budget constraints echoed in my head from 2 years ago. Conservative, that was the new buzzword. Interesting, I said, because it seems like you've been able to find room in the budget for other adjustments. His expression flickered, just for a second. What do you mean? The folder you sent me this morning, it had more than just my review in it. The color drained from his face so fast, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Emily, He reached for his laptop. That was a mistake. You weren't supposed to see the entire department's salary information. No, I figured that part out. I leaned forward. What I'm trying to understand is how someone hired 6 months ago, who I've spent half a year training, is making $22,000 more than me. He closed his laptop, rubbed his face with both hands. This is a confidential personnel matter. It was confidential until you sent it to me. I need you to delete those files right now. I need you to explain to me how this is fair right now. We stared at each other across the table. The air conditioning hummed. Someone walked past the conference room window, glanced in, kept walking. Market rates have changed, David finally said. When we hire externally, we have to meet current market expectations. That's just reality. And internal employees, we don't get market adjustments? It's different. External hires have leverage in negotiations. They can walk away. We have to compete for talent. So loyalty is punished? That's not what I'm saying. That's exactly what you're saying. My voice was rising now, and I didn't care. I've been here 4 years. I train every new hire. I handle the most complex accounts. Your review says I'm essential to operations, but I'm worth $22,000 less than someone who needed me to show her how to open a spreadsheet last month? Sarah came from a competitive market. She had other offers. We had to match. Did you offer to match them for me 2 years ago when I asked for a raise and you told me about budget constraints? I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots. Because this spreadsheet shows me that the budget constraints disappeared real fast once you needed to hire people. James got $71,000, Marcus got $68,000, Jennifer got $65,000. Every single person hired in the last 2 years is making more than me. David's jaw tightened. I can't discuss other employees' compensation with you. You already did when you sent me the file. That was a mistake. Yeah, it was. Silence again, heavier this time. I could see him calculating, trying to figure out how to fix this, how to put the information back in the box and get me to forget what I'd seen. Look, he said, softer now, I understand you're upset. This isn't how you should have found out about market dynamics, but the reality is you've been underpaying me for years while telling me I'm valuable. You are valuable. Then pay me like it. He exhaled slowly. I can probably get approval for a larger increase, maybe 5% instead of 3%. That would put you at 52,500, I interrupted. Still 20,000 less than Sarah, still 16,000 less than Marcus. I can't just jump you to their level. It doesn't work that way. There's a process. There was a process when you hired them too, and somehow their process ended with higher numbers. They negotiated. So I'm being punished for not negotiating hard enough 4 years ago when I was grateful to have a job? He spread his hands on the table, looking at them instead of me. I don't make the rules, Emily. I work within the system I have, and the system says I can't give you a $20,000 raise overnight. But you can hire someone at $22,000 more than me overnight. That's different budget allocation. New hire budgets versus merit increase budgets. They're separate pools. I laughed, actually laughed. The sound came out harsh and bitter. You realize how insane that sounds, right? You can pay market rate to strangers, but not to the people who've been keeping this department running? I'm doing what I can within the constraints. Right, I've heard this before. I stood up, grabbing my laptop. You know what? Save your 5% increase. I don't want it. Emily, sit down. Let's talk about this. We're done talking. I walked out of the conference room and straight back to my desk, my heart hammering against my ribs. Half the office was watching me. I didn't care. Let them watch. I pulled up my email and started searching. Every recruiter who'd contacted me in the last year. Every message I'd politely declined because I thought loyalty mattered. Every opportunity I'd passed up because I believed David when he said they valued me. My phone buzzed. Text from David. Please don't do anything rash. We can work this out. I blocked his number and kept typing. The rest of the afternoon blurred by. I responded to 7 recruiter messages, updated my profile on 3 job sites, applied to 4 positions that matched my experience. All of them listed salary ranges starting at $65,000 or higher. At 4:30, Sarah appeared at my cubicle again. Hey, I'm sorry if I bothered you earlier. I know you're busy. I was wondering if... How much did you negotiate? I interrupted. She blinked. What? When they made you an offer, how much did you negotiate? I don't think I should. They're paying you $72,000, aren't they? Her face went pale. How did you... I make $50,000. I've been here 4 years. I trained you, and you make $22,000 more than me. Emily, I didn't know. Of course you didn't. Why would they tell you? Why would anyone tell you that the person teaching you the job is making a fraction of what you're making? I laughed again, that same bitter sound. Did you negotiate, or did they just offer you that right away? She took a step back. They offered 68. I asked for 75. We settled at 72. 68? Their opening offer for someone with 0 experience was $18,000 more than what they were currently paying me after 4 years of exceeding expectations. Thanks for being honest, I said. That's more than David's given me in 2 years. I'm sorry, I really didn't know. It's not your fault. You did what you were supposed to do. You negotiated. You valued yourself. The problem is, they decided I wasn't worth valuing. She stood there awkwardly for another moment, then retreated. I heard her whisper to someone at another desk. The gossip would spread fast. Good. Let everyone know. Let them all start asking questions about their own compensation. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it anyway. Is this Emily Watson? Speaking.
Hi, Emily. This is Jennifer Chen from TechCorp Solutions. I'm a senior recruiter, and I saw your profile just went active on LinkedIn. I've got a role that might be perfect for your background. Do you have a few minutes to chat? I glanced around the office. David was standing outside his office, watching me through the glass. Marcus was pretending to work, but glancing over every few seconds. Sarah had disappeared, probably to the bathroom to process our conversation. Actually, I said, I have all the time in the world. Jennifer walked me through the position.
Client Operations Manager. Similar responsibilities to what I was already doing. Salary range, 75 to 85,000 depending on experience. I'm definitely interested, I told her. When can we set up an interview? How's tomorrow morning? 9 a.m. phone screen, and if that goes well, we can bring you in for a panel interview early next week. Tomorrow works perfectly. We confirmed details and hung up. I added it to my calendar, right in the middle of the department meeting David had scheduled. Oops, another email from David. We need to discuss this situation professionally. Please come to my office. I deleted it. My desk phone rang. David's extension. I let it go to voicemail. At 5 o'clock, I packed up my laptop and walked out. David tried to intercept me at the elevator. Emily, we really need to talk about this. Talk to HR. I'm sure they'll be interested in how that confidential salary file ended up in my inbox. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in. He tried to follow, but Rebecca from accounting was already inside, and the doors slid shut before he could squeeze in. What was that about? Rebecca asked. Remember how you asked if everything was okay? I said. It's not, but it's about to be. I went home and spent the evening applying to 12 more positions. My phone started ringing with recruiter calls before 9 p.m. Apparently, my experience was in high demand. Who knew? The next morning, I showed up to work at my normal time. The office was buzzing. Apparently, half the department had spent the evening comparing salaries after my confrontation with Sarah went public. People were angry. Rebecca cornered me in the break room. Is it true you saw everyone's salaries? David sent me the master file by accident, and we're all underpaid? Anyone who's been here longer than 2 years is making significantly less than new hires. She swore under her breath. I've been here 5 years. I asked for a raise last year and got 3%. Same, 2 years ago, budget constraints. But they hired 3 people in my division last year. All of them are making more than me, aren't they? I didn't answer, didn't have to. She could see it on my face. I'm updating my resume tonight, she said. Good, you should. At 8:45, David called an emergency team meeting. I grabbed my phone and laptop and headed to the large conference room with everyone else. The energy was tense, angry. People weren't chatting and joking like usual. They were staring at David with expressions ranging from frustration to outright hostility. I know there's been some confusion, David started, standing at the front of the room. Regarding compensation information that was accidentally shared, I want to address this directly. Confusion? Marcus spoke up. That's what we're calling it? There are confidentiality policies in place for a reason. Salary information is private. Private so we won't find out you're screwing us, Rebecca interrupted. David's face reddened. That's not accurate or fair. Compensation is complex. There are many factors. Factor 1, loyalty doesn't matter, I said. Everyone turned to look at me. Factor 2, market adjustments only apply to new hires. Factor 3, exceeding expectations means nothing. Factor 4, budget constraints are fictional. Did I miss any? Emily, this isn't productive. You know what's not productive? Spending years training people who make $20,000 more than you. That's pretty unproductive. A ripple of agreement went through the room. David held up his hands. I understand there are frustrations. HR and I are reviewing the compensation structure. We're committed to ensuring fairness. When? Rebecca demanded. When are you reviewing it? Because I asked for a review last year and got blown off. And I asked 2 years ago, I added. Still waiting on that review. David looked cornered. These things take time. We have to work within budget parameters. The same budget that hired 6 people in the last year? Marcus crossed his arms. That budget? My phone alarm went off. 9 a.m. Interview time. I stood up and gathered my things. Where are you going? David asked. The meeting isn't over. I have a phone call. This meeting is mandatory. Then I guess I'm not a team player anymore. I walked out. Half the room was staring. The other half looked like they wanted to follow me. I took the call in my car, parked in the garage under the office building. The phone screen with Jennifer went perfectly. She asked about my experience, my accomplishments, my expectations. When she asked about salary requirements, I didn't hesitate. 75,000 minimum, ideally 80. That's within our range. Based on this conversation, I'd like to move you forward to the panel interview. Are you available Monday at 10 a.m.? Absolutely. Perfect. I'll send you the details. Emily, I have to say, your resume is impressive. I'm surprised your current company hasn't recognized your value. So am I said. That's why I'm leaving. When I got back to my desk, there was a note from HR requesting a meeting at 3 p.m. Probably damage control. Probably about confidentiality agreements and not discussing salary information. Too late. The cat was out of the bag, and it was pissed. I spent the rest of the morning applying to more positions and responding to recruiter messages. By lunch, I had 3 more phone screens scheduled for next week. The job market was even better than I'd thought. At 3, I walked into HR Linda Martinez, the HR director, sat behind her desk with a carefully neutral expression and a folder in front of her. Emily, thanks for coming in. I wanted to discuss the incident with the salary file. The incident where David accidentally showed me how little the company values loyalty? Her expression tightened. I understand you're upset, but we need to discuss the confidentiality agreement you signed when you were hired. The one that says I can't share proprietary information? I haven't shared anything. I've only discussed what I learned about my own compensation relative to others. Discussing other employees' salaries is protected under the National Labor Relations Act. I know my rights. She paused, clearly not expecting that. This situation is delicate. It's only delicate because you've been underpaying loyal employees for years and hoping we wouldn't notice. That's not accurate. Compensation is based on many factors. Linda, I've been here 4 years. I'm rated exceeding expectations. I'm described as essential to operations. And I make $22,000 less than someone hired 6 months ago with 0 experience. Explain to me which factor makes that fair. She opens the folder. Market rates for your position have increased significantly in the last 2 years, and you've adjusted rates for new hires but not existing employees. We do annual merit increases, 3%, which doesn't even cover inflation. Meanwhile, new hires get 20 to 30% more than people who've been here for years. We're reviewing the compensation structure. You're reviewing it now because I found out. If David hadn't accidentally sent me that file, you'd be planning to give me my 3% and tell me I'm lucky to have it. Linda closed the folder. What do you want, Emily? Nothing. Nothing? I don't want anything from this company anymore. I wanted fairness. I wanted to be valued. I wanted what I was promised when you told me loyalty and performance mattered, but I figured out that's not happening here. If you're looking for a significant increase, I can work with David to see what's possible. Don't bother. I'm already interviewing elsewhere. Her eyes widened slightly. I hope you'll give us a chance to make this right before making any decisions. You had 2 years to make it right. When I asked for a raise and David told me about budget constraints, that was your chance. When you hired Sarah at $72,000 and gave me a 3% increase that brought me to $50,000, that was your chance. You've made your position clear. Now I'm making mine. I stood up. She tried to say something else, but I was already walking out. When I got back to my desk, Sarah was hovering nearby, looking uncomfortable. Hey, she said quietly, can we talk? Sure. We walked to an empty conference room. She closed the door and leaned against it, arms crossed. I feel terrible about this whole situation, she started. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm making so much more than you, and you've been teaching me everything. That's not your fault. You negotiated. You should have negotiated. The problem isn't you getting paid fairly. The problem is me not getting paid fairly. Have you thought about asking them to match my salary? They can't match it, not without admitting they've been undervaluing me for years. And once they do that, everyone else who's been here more than 2 years will demand the same thing. It would cost them hundreds of thousands to fix this across the department. So they're just going to let you leave? They're going to try to guilt me into staying. They'll offer me a slightly bigger increase and tell me it's the best they can do. They'll remind me about team loyalty and how much the department needs me. And when that doesn't work, they'll act like I'm being unreasonable. That's so messed up. Welcome to corporate America. She was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I didn't know of this when I took the job. If I had, you still would have taken it. You should have. The difference is you valued yourself, and I didn't. I let them convince me that being grateful and loyal was more important than being paid fairly. That's on me. It's not on you. They took advantage. Yeah, they did, but not anymore. I had 4 more interviews scheduled by the end of the week. 3 of them moved to final rounds. The offers started coming in by the following Wednesday. TechCorp Solutions, $80,000 base, 15% bonus potential, full benefits. Dataflow Inc., $78,000 base, 10% bonus, remote work option. Summit Consulting, $85,000 base, 20% bonus, relocation assistance if needed. I sat at my desk staring at the Summit offer on my phone. $85,000, $35,000 more than my current salary, for basically the same work I was already doing. David appeared at my cubicle. He'd been avoiding me for days. "Can we talk?" he asked. "My office?" "Sure." I followed him in. He closed the door and gestured to a chair. I sat. He stayed standing, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. "HR told me you're interviewing." "Yes." "I don't want to lose you, Emily. You're valuable to this team." "So you've said." "I've been working with Linda and senior leadership. We can offer you $60,000. That's a 20% increase. It's significant. It's $10,000 less than your opening offer was for Sarah." Sarah's situation was different. "It's $25,000 less than the offer I just accepted elsewhere." His face went pale. "You accepted another offer?" 20 minutes ago. $85,000 base salary, 20% bonus potential. They're valuing me at what I'm actually worth. Emily, please. Let me see if I can get approval for more. Maybe 65. You're still thinking too small. You're trying to figure out the minimum increase that'll make me stay. They saw my resume and offered me 85 without blinking. We can match that. No, you can't. Because if you match it for me, Rebecca's going to ask for the same thing. And Marcus. And everyone else who's been here more than 2 years and just found out they're being underpaid. You can't afford to fix what you broke. This is a mistake. You're leaving a secure position over money. I'm leaving a position where I'm not valued. Money is just how you measure value in business. And you measured me at $22,000 less than someone I trained. That document was a mistake. Sending it to me was a mistake. Creating that situation in the first place was a choice. He sat down heavily in his chair. When's your last day? 2 weeks from Friday. I'll send my formal resignation this afternoon. Will you at least help transition your accounts? I almost laughed. Still asking for favors. Still expecting me to go above and beyond for the team that didn't value me. I'll document what I can, I said. But I'm not working overtime to make this easier. I'm not staying late or coming in early. You'll get my normal hours and nothing extra. That's fair, he said quietly. I stood up. Is that everything? I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I should have fought harder for you. Yeah, you should have. I walked out of his office for the last time as his employee. My resignation email went out at 4 p.m., formal, professional, 2 weeks notice. By 4:30, half the department had stopped by my desk, some to congratulate me, some to ask where I was going, some to ask if my new company was hiring. Rebecca hugged me. You did it. You actually did it. You should too. Update your resume. You're worth more than they're paying you. I started applying yesterday. Already have 2 phone screens next week. Good. Marcus shook my hand. Thanks for showing us we don't have to accept this. You never did. They just hoped you wouldn't figure that out. The next 2 weeks were the easiest of my career. I showed up at 9, left at 5, did exactly what was asked and nothing more. No staying late to help Sarah, no covering for Marcus's mistakes, no mentoring new hires. They wanted me at $50,000. They got $50,000 effort. David tried to schedule multiple meetings to discuss concerns and ensure smooth transitions. I declined all of them. Everything I knew was documented. They could read. On my last day, Linda called me in for an exit interview. Before you go, I want to say we appreciate your contributions here. Sure you do. Is there anything we could have done differently to retain you? I leaned back in the chair. You could have paid me fairly. You could have meant it when you said performance and loyalty mattered. You could have given me a real raise 2 years ago instead of telling me about budget constraints while hiring people at 30% more than I was making. You had a lot of opportunities to do things differently. For what it's worth, we're implementing a compensation review across the department. We don't want to lose anyone else. You're doing it because I forced your hand. If I hadn't seen that spreadsheet, you'd still be giving everyone 3% and hoping nobody noticed. She didn't deny it. I walked out of that office at 4:45 on Friday with my box of personal items and my laptop bag. Sarah caught me at the elevator. Good luck, she said. I mean it. Thanks, you too. And Sarah, don't let them do to you what they did to me. Keep negotiating. Keep knowing your worth. The second you stop, they'll stop valuing you too. She nodded. I will, promise. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in, turned around. David was standing in the hallway watching me leave, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. I didn't wave, didn't smile, just watched the doors slide shut between us. Starting Monday, I'd be making $35,000 more a year. I'd be valued, respected, paid what I was worth. But more than that, I'd be done settling for less than I deserved. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever discovered you were being paid less than your coworkers for the same work?